Tonight, Chicago, Illinois, and the classic Aragon Ballroom plays host to the Bellator Fighting Championship 7. At stake, 2 spots in the tournament finals of the welterweight division. For Lyman Good, Jorge Ortiz, Omar de la Cruz, and Dave Menne, the quarterfinals provided a test, but a much tougher task awaits tonight in the Final Four at 170. Good was just that in his match against Hector Urbina in front of a fired-up Mohegan Sun crowd, which included his staunchest supporter, his mother. Good put Urbina to sleep with a rear naked choke, and that brings him face to face with the naked man, also known as Jorge Ortiz. The Juarez, Mexico native cranked out a gutty unanimous decision win over Aaron Romero. Ortiz knows tonight they'll need to be better than Good to move on. Meantime, Omar de la Cruz's ground game was on point as he dominated an overmatched Victor Meza in the quarterfinals. Tonight, the pride of the Dominican Republic will need to showcase his Taekwondo in order to beat the more experienced Dave Menne. The Minnesota native shook off the rust before locking up the Frenchman Norman Parisi with a rear naked choke in the 3rd round. It is the semifinals in the welterweight division. Good against Ortiz and De La Cruz versus Menne. Which two will leave the Windy City victorious and within one win of $175,000? It is the Bellator Fighting Championship 7 right now. And welcome to the second city, Chicago, Illinois. It is the Bellator Fighting Championship 7, where fighters become warriors and warriors become legends. Tonight we continue with the single elimination tournament and our welterweight semifinals. We began the welterweight tournament with 8 world-class mixed martial artists. That field has been trimmed down to a very deserving Final Four, and tonight Bellator inches one step closer to crowning its first ever welterweight champion. So glad to have you here with us inside the classic Aragon Ballroom. John Anik, Mike Side, Jason Chambers. And Jay, let's get right to it. Our first welterweight semifinal, Lyman Good against Jorge Ortiz. What does Ortiz need to do to spring the upset against the very explosive Lyman Good?
Well, I mean, first of all, Lyman Good, like you said, not only is he explosive, but he definitely looks to be the physically stronger of the two guys. He's a huge monster for 170. I think those strengths are going to play the best when you're in a tight situation on the ground or when you're in a clinch. What Ortiz really needs to do is execute a good game plan. Stay on the outside, use his reach, and take it to him.
All right, the other semifinal, the pride of the Dominican Republic, Omar de la Cruz against the veteran Dave Menne, and a decided experience edge for Menne, the former UFC middleweight champion.
A little bit, man. Dave Menne has over 60 fights. This guy has been a champion before. He knows what it takes to make it in the big leagues, and he's bringing a lot of experience in there. He favors the ground game, a great striker, but on the opposite side of that, Omar de la Cruz, no slouch. 5 fights, likes to finish those fights, has a 3rd-degree black belt in Taekwondo. He's a tough guy, and he's going to bring it to him. This is going to be explosive no matter where it goes.
All right, so we will leave the Windy City tonight with 2 finalists in the welterweight division. That championship bout June 12th at the Mohegan Sun Arena in Uncasville, Connecticut. Jay, we get to the tournament action shortly, but we begin tonight with a special feature attraction. A very intriguing women's mixed martial arts fight right now in the 135-pound division. Leslie Smith and the debut for Kerry Vera. First, we'll hear from Leslie Smith. She saw MMA once and was hooked.
I started fighting because I was working as a personal trainer at a Bally's, and one day I was leaving, and there was always this little girl that was up at the front. So one day I was like, why are you here? Why are you always here late at nighttime? And she said, well, my dad runs the fight team. I was like, we have a fight team? So I ran back and I watched for 10 minutes, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is for me. And I asked the coach, I said, will you put me in there so I can actually hit people? And he said, yeah. And a month later, I got my first fight, and it went awesome.
And if there's a mixed martial artist on the planet with a better attitude, a better disposition, man or woman, than Leslie Smith, I would like to meet he or she. From Colorado Springs, Colorado, where the altitude is more than 6,200 feet, Leslie Smith making her Bellator debut.
He's definitely one of the nicest, sweetest people you'll ever meet in mixed martial arts. A great representation for the sport. And like you mentioned, Colorado Springs, altitude training is something a lot of fighters do. They go to camps like Big Bear, they'll go out to Colorado, or or they'll try to deprive themselves of oxygen. This girl's lived in Colorado Springs for a long time, so she's used to having to suck up the wind pretty hard. That cardio could play a big factor if we go into the later rounds.
Currently earning her Associate of Science degree at Pikes Peak Community College. Actually, today, she finished her history final in her hotel room at about 3:30 Central Time. So studying on the job, and I guess maybe a way to sort of deviate your focus from the task at hand in the fight. Take a final exam before stepping in the cage.
Geez, that could be a psychology study. You do better or not after the fights.
Well, her opponent needs no introduction. Kerry Vera finally joining her husband in the cage.
Having my husband as a fighter too, it's kind of cool because he definitely understands everything that we have to go through. So whether he's fighting or I'm fighting, either one of us will pick up the slack for each other. In the gym, we'll train at the same time, but we don't really train together. It's kind of hard to train with your husband because if you get mad or if he yells at me or I say something wrong, you don't want to take it home with you. It's definitely something you want to try to leave at the gym and have one of your other coaches telling you what to do and how to do it. But it's definitely nice having my husband in the gym training with me at the same time.
Well, it's been a long road to the Bellator Fighting Championships for Kerry Vera, a gifted striker, but Jay finally making her professional mixed martial arts debut tonight.
Yeah, and she's got the last name Vera, and obviously Brandon Vera, a fantastic light heavyweight, fought in the UFC, he's fought all over the place. Talked to her a little bit about whether or not she feels the pressure on her because of that, and said, no, I don't feel any pressure. Husband's super supportive, whatever I need, he's there for me.
She did say the extra attention because of the presence of Brandon Vera is a little bit weird, but you're right, says she doesn't put any pressure on herself. Had about 5 to 10 amateur boxing bouts. You may recognize her from the 2007 season of Fight Girls on Oxygen. She emerged victorious in a group of 10 female Muay Thai fighters. Began training in Taekwondo at the age of 6. Really a tremendous striker. The story behind the marriage between Brandon and Kerry Vera. Brandon heard somebody on a speed bag in the back of a San Diego gym, walked to the back, and lo and behold, it was Kerry Vera pounding away. Some say she has better hands than her husband, hits like a man, and Brandon actually says Kerry could become the top woman fighter in all of MMA.
Combate de esta noche pactado a 3 asaltos en la división peso 135 libras. Ladies and gentlemen, our next bout of the evening, set in the 135-pound weight class. Los jueces son, the judges are Salvatore de Amato, Cesar Valdez, and Anthony Bailes. The referee, Michael Reed. Presentando la esquina azul, introducing the blue corner. Vestida de negro con color gris. She steps into the ring wearing black, trimmed in gray. Su peso oficial, 136 libras. Her official weight, 136 pounds. Un especialista en estilo libre en su segundo combate profesional con récord de una victoria. She is a freestyle fighter in her second professional bout with a record of 1 victory. Representing Congo Do, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Leslie Smith. Su rival en la esquina roja. Her opponent in the red corner. Vestida de negro con color blanco. She steps in wearing black, trimmed in white. Detuvo la báscula un peso idéntico de 136 libras. She tipped the scales at an identical 136 pounds. Un especialista en boxeo tailandés. She is a kickboxer who this evening, she is making her professional debut. Esta noche hace su debut profesional. Representando Alliance Training Center, Chula Vista, California, Kerry Vera.
Fighter, come forward. Ladies, you know the rules and regulations that we're putting out here. You guys want a clean fight, obey my rules at every time. Go ahead and touch gloves, show everybody what you got.
And you just saw there the UFC light heavyweight Brandon Vera, not in Kerry's corner though, by the way. Doesn't train her directly, but certainly here to show his support for his wife tonight as she makes her professional debut against Leslie Smith, who does not stop smiling. And you wonder, given how great a striker Kerry Vera is, if she'll be able to wipe that smile off of Leslie Smith's mug.
And this is probably the fight I'm the most excited for tonight. both of these girls just have a great attitude going into it. And women's mixed martial arts exploding within the sport. The sport obviously still in its infancy, only been around for about 15 years now. And it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out.
And Vera showing you the striking there early on. We asked her why so long for the MMA debut, and she said she just was reluctant to train in the ground game. Finally started doing so with some jiu-jitsu about 1.5 years ago, and now she's ready tonight, and we're all looking forward to see her strike.
Kind of weird though that her husband's not the cornerman, helps him train. I mean, I know Brandon Vera, I got to train with him a little bit. He's trained with Rob Kamen, and obviously his jiu-jitsu's fantastic. Worked with a ton of tough guys, but Carrie here showing us why she's such a tough chick on her feet.
Yeah, landing some shots to the body there. And Jay, safe to say the strategy for Leslie Smith, somehow, some way to get this thing down, or is she willing to stand and bang?
She's more than willing to stand and bang. I think the problem for Leslie Smith is that she likes to stand and bang, and Carrie Vera just looks to be a little more of a refined striker. You know, like throwing those halfway kicks out and stuff. Vera's going to start to time those and throw those right hands behind it.
Huge left hand there for Carrie Vera. And you still can't wipe that smile off the face of Leslie Smith. The crowd at the Aragon Ballroom enjoying every minute of it.
What's not to enjoy? Two girls beating the crap out of each other. It's fantastic.
Carrie Vera so driven, I can almost guarantee if she needs to go the full 15 minutes tonight, that will not be an issue. Also see some nice head movement there as Vera gets out of the way of a potential punch.
Absolutely. You know, Leslie Smith doing a good job of pushing the action forward here, even though Carrie Vera seems to be landing a couple of the stronger shots in the clinch there.
Yeah, Smith showing off a chin a little bit here in the early going.
I showed off a chin once against Thiago Alves. Didn't work out for me.
You know, a lot of people wondered what kind of opponent Matt Stansel and the Bellator brass would put in with Carrie Vera. They found a good fighter. This is no slouch in Leslie Smith, and I think you're seeing that so far.
You know, one of the things that I've always thought about going into fights like this is that when you come from a certain pedigree, you tend to bring some of those habits with you. If you're a wrestler, you know, you could train your hands for a long time. Matt Hughes trained for years on his feet with Miletich, wasn't really comfortable on his feet until later in the years. Carrie Vera, coming from a kickboxing background, you know, even though she trains jiu-jitsu, trains wrestling, my question is going to be, you know, is she able to be proficient there? Obviously, with those big left hands she's landing on Smith, doesn't necessarily need to be proficient if she keeps that up. But if it does go there, it's going to be interesting to see how she's adapted to this mixed martial arts.
Well, she's got to enjoy the fact that her opponent is more than willing to engage, but Leslie Smith taking some punishment now here. That left hand of Carrie Vera just explosive.
Leslie Smith is the happiest person I've ever seen getting hit in the face.
I'm telling you, man.
It's impossible to punch that smile off of her face. She just loves this sport. Look at her.
Another huge left hand there for Carrie Vera.
Kind of like the yin and the yang of the martial arts circuit. The mean, determined, focused Vera against the happy-go-lucky. Just wants to have some fun and do some MMA Smith.
Yeah, she's a Carrie Vera fan. Met Vera's parents at the weigh-in yesterday, so happy to be here, but still wants the W.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic. She said that if this wasn't me fighting Carrie Vera when I met her, I'd be like, hey, you're awesome. Can I have a picture with you? So she's really stoked to be able to have an opportunity to fight someone she looks up to.
And you see with Vera, I mean, she can throw the left hook and the right hook. It looks ambidextrous to me.
She's doing a great job so far. Good foot movement. Smith pushing the action a little more, but Kara's been able to kind of connect with some bigger shots.
Huge shot there by Vera, and Leslie Smith is stunned.
Putting together really good combinations. Great combinations. Throwing those 1-2s, the knees. Let's see how she uses the cage now. She presses Smith up against it. Oh, you don't want to do that. You don't want to put your arm over your opponent's head. It's going to give him the back. Smith needs to get that left arm across the face of Vera. Not really too sure that, looking for a guillotine choke here. By putting that arm over the top, you expose your back and you expose the takedown. So it's something that someone who trains stand-up more than the ground tends to do.
So the butterfly should be gone. Carrie Vera, a little flurry there at the end of the first round of her MMA career, and Leslie Smith, well, she's wearing it.
In the clinch, don't let her get in there. Break away right away. Unless you get control, I want me. But you're doing perfect. The jab is working perfect for you. Hey, it's setting up everything else. When she comes in hard, I want you to set it up. Let her walk into the right hand, left hook, okay? And then right knee, and break away. But you're doing fine. Whenever she's crowding you, I want you to push kick, and I want you to circle out the center man, okay? You're landing some good shots on her, you're picking her apart. That was your round, okay? Deep breath. Deep breath. And then when she gets you on the fence, I want you to push your face right away and get away. You're good. Good. Perfect rhythm. That's your pace, okay? Deep breath. The jab working for you. No, you're kicking fine. You're kicking fine. So let it go. I call for a high kick at the end, but you're fine. That push kick is working. Let's start picking apart now.
So Kerry Vera looks the part after 5 minutes. Doesn't seem to have sustained too much damage.
No, and she took some good shots on the chin. Both really good action back and forth here. See Smith landed a few kicks, and then Vera's countering with the punches up top.
Can you back up a little? Thank you.
Well, Kerry Vera's parents are in the building tonight. You see Andy and Sherry, and Andy was all about this as a career path for his daughter. Sherry a little reluctant at first, but eventually she caved. Actually, Kerry's older sister's a professional ballroom dancer, so
she's in the right place.
A tale of two careers, I would say, for the Vera sisters. All right, so round number 2, we'll see if Leslie Smith can muster up any sort of challenge here. Certainly has to be behind on the scorecards after round 1.
You know, I think that even though she's taken a few shots, you got to give her girl credit. She's been pushing the action forward, not afraid to engage. Sometimes people get gun shy. You get hit a couple times, they back away, they look a little more tentative. Hasn't been the case with Smith. Vera's put a couple right down the pipe. She's continued to move forward. It's one of the things the judges look at, so it's hard to figure out if the judges are looking at what criteria each individual judge has that stands out more than others.
Well, Smith promised her cardio would not abandon her. Of course, Colorado Springs, Colorado does a lot of hiking, couple dogs, incline work. So she's ready to go.
Oh, spinning back fist by Smith. Somebody watched the YouTube video last week.
There you go. She's looking for the highlight this week, and probably the best punch landed so far for Leslie Smith.
Vera's doing a good job of countering with that straight right. You'll notice every time Smith sets up the legs, Vera's countering with a right hand or a jab to kind of take the balance off, and it puts a little extra pressure on Smith when she's throwing those kicks.
You see Smith feeding off the crowd there a little bit. They like the spinning back fist, even though a lot of the support here is for Kerry Vera.
Kerry Vera looks like a really refined striker. She's putting together good combinations, and haven't really got to see her too much on the ground, obviously, and the clinch has been minimal. But at this point, like I said, you really have to give the round to Vera.
Huge right hand there. I mean, when she lands, Smith is backed up.
Yeah, she lands hard. She definitely hit punches with a lot of force. Excuse me.
One of Kerry's trainers, Eric Del Fiero, says she's one of his best strikers, male or female, and the results would back that statement up.
Leslie Smith, no slouch herself. Got a little blood now underneath the nose of Kerry Vera.
And she probably likes it. She's probably smiling.
She likes everything about MMA. Punching, getting punched. Both girls doing a great job of exchanges here.
A couple nice kicks there for Leslie Smith. Her corner urging her to be aggressive, and she's taking the advice. You do see the blood, though, there on the nose of Leslie Smith, so...
Both fighters have a different strategy going into this. Obviously, they both want to stand and bang, but Leslie Smith is doing a little more of that flat-footed, just walk forward, throw punches, kind of Vanderlei Silva-esque, if you will. Just kind of happy to stand in the pocket and throw some leather. Kerry Vera a little more light on her feet. You see the heels of a Kerry Vera off the mat there, bouncing around, getting a little better angles. Oh, here we go. This could be the start of the grappling match.
You'd think Smith might be well served to try and get this thing to the ground if there is any weakness in Kerry Vera. I mean, she hasn't been practicing on the ground all that long. Not that Leslie Smith brings a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt to the table, but...
No, I definitely think that if I'm the corner of Smith now, I mean, it's close to call. The corner man might be excited about this fight and think she's winning, but I think by all accounts, you got to at least test Kerry Vera on the ground, knowing that she doesn't have any fights and she comes from a kickboxing background. You'd lend it would. Oh, good right hand, and dropped her.
Vera trying to pounce here. Leslie Smith certainly stunned by that right hand, but there's the smile, ear to ear, never fails.
And you can see there that Kerry Vera happy to stand up, even though Smith went to the ground. She didn't instinctually follow her up and try to throw any punches and get a TKO stoppage.
Yeah.
Kind of had a half-second hesitation there, maybe coming from the kickboxing background or just feeling like it's okay and she could beat her on her feet. But definitely throwing some heavy hands.
So confident, you're right, in her striking and her cardio that didn't necessarily take advantage of that potential opening there to take things to the ground.
Ironic, we were just talking about the ground game of Vera, and Smith ends up on the ground.
And we're also just talking about the face of Leslie Smith. You see it there. Kerry Vera's been opened up a little bit.
Blood smears.
And her husband, the UFC light heavyweight Brandon Vera, I mean, he does not like to watch his wife fight, but certainly supports her in this endeavor, and it'll be interesting to see his reaction after round 2.
There's a faucet opened up under the nose of Kerry Vera there. He's bleeding pretty heavy.
So Smith's a gamer, you know, showing off her chin. I think both ladies showing off their chin. I think you also brought up a good point earlier. You see Leslie Smith far more flat-footed at this stage of the fight. Kerry Vera still bouncing up and down.
10 seconds.
Absolutely.
10 seconds.
So it doesn't get much better than this for women's mixed martial arts. Leslie Smith and Kerry Vera, the 3rd round when we return. And the live Bellator action continues in about 2 weeks' time at the Monroe Civic Center in Monroe, Louisiana, with the middleweight semifinals. May 29th, you've got Hector Lombard against Damian Stelly, Jared Hess against Yosmani Cabezas. 2 guys will move on to the middleweight tournament final, which will be June 19th at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. If you want to join us in Monroe, Louisiana, not to worry, tickets still available. They are yours at any Ticketmaster outlet, or just visit Ticketmaster.com. We'll see you cage side May 29th in Monroe, Louisiana. Well, despite his wife taking a little bit of punishment there in round 2, Brandon Vera, calm and cool, and I think looking forward to round 3 to see what Kerry can get going here.
Well, she got a couple things going in that last round, like this big hand that knocked Smith to her butt. See, Smith throws a spinning back fist, kind of grazes the face of Vera. Later in that round, though, she got her back through that big right hand. Boom.
Straight on the chin, yeah, man.
Right on the chin. Almost rolled Smith over backwards with so much momentum.
So, Jay, you got to be impressed with Leslie Smith's chin, no?
I'm impressed with both of these girls. I think Leslie Smith, Kerry Vera, both girls showing a ton of heart coming into this fight.
So the second round closer than the first. The decision sort of hanging in the balance here. We'll see what happens in round number 3. Some could certainly make an argument that Kerry Vera won the first 2 rounds.
It's kind of odd, too, that Vera's nose is bloody. Vera's been throwing really clean, straight punches right up the middle with those 1s and 2s, and Smith has been throwing more looping right hands, kind of a la Chuck Liddell, swinging from the outside.
And it'll be interesting with Leslie Smith. Is she happy to be here, or is she going to have that killer instinct?
I think she could be both, having that killer instinct and being happy to have it. Coming from the Bally's Total Fitness background there. Long way from a personal trainer to get in the cage. I say that tongue-in-cheek. Actually started at Bally's myself as a personal trainer.
Oh, did you really? I didn't know that.
Taught a kickboxing class there and ended up fighting a little bit down the road.
Well, I've seen plenty of women's mixed martial arts. I think the ceiling for both of these young women is pretty high here after what we've seen tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see either one of these girls fight again, regardless of who wins this one. Both are entertaining fighters, and one of the things you don't see a lot in female mixed martial arts is the fights, they usually tend to go the distance just because the women tend to be lighter and there's not as much power behind those punches. But, both girls here hitting like a ton of bricks.
And, Jay, unlike some other major U.S. promotions, the Bellator Fighting Championships treats the women like the men. There are no 3-minute rounds here. I mean, you're getting 3 5-minute rounds, and I think that's important.
That's right. Male or female, you show up at Bellator, here's a cup of coffee, here's some gloves, get in the ring, beat somebody up.
And you see the stamina for Kerry Vera still bouncing up on those toes. Such a telling sign of her training and her hard work.
Yeah, Vera's showing that she's in great shape, but the first thing that goes out on a fighter tends to be his legs. And moving around as much as she is, she's still throwing great combinations like that one. 1, 2, 3 right down the center.
Solid body shot there by Kerry Vera.
Vera's done a great job of mixing up her combinations. It's great.
Leslie Smith, shades of Clay Guida with that hair flying all around now.
Oh, God, you just called her Clay Guida?
Well, Clay's in the building tonight, and
so now she looks like Clay Guida?
Her hair's a factor. That's all I'm saying. Her hair's a factor. Nice kick there by Kerry Vera. Follows it up with a nice combination. Solid kick there from Vera.
Smith tends to be a little more aggressive, obviously, just moving forward, as you can see here. But, you know, Vera picking her shots, throwing that teep kick, that front kick from Muay Thai, and those straight left and rights, just like that you're seeing right down the center, connecting every time there with Smith. She's landing about, what, 60–70% of her shots. I'd say that Smith is landing 15%.
Yeah, certainly a major percentage edge for Kerry Vera. You think Smith doesn't fear the power, and that's why she keeps coming forward?
Smith is too happy to fear anything, man. Let's see if we get this on the ground. Smith has got an underhook. Let's see if she's able to use it. Oh, Vera's doing a really good job there. That's smart. See how she's using her left hand on the bicep of Smith there and controlling her so she's not able to get double underhooks. Vera's been training off the cage.
Good, ladies. Come on.
Yeah, the fight's been up almost entirely. We saw Smith hit the canvas after the huge right hand, but essentially a striking match here.
And this fight single-handedly has made me a bigger fan of women's mixed martial arts.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Another nice combination for Kerry Vera, and at this point you'd have to think Leslie Smith better get going if she wants to keep that perfect record intact.
One of the things, too, you look at in a fight like this is Kerry Vera comes in, obviously a very good striker, good hands, good feet, putting together good combinations. Her striking looks better than a lot of the guys we've seen fight this far.
Very polished.
Yeah, and she's only going to get better. Imagine a Kerry Vera with like an NCAA, wrestling ability or some black belt in jiu-jitsu with her hands. 5 years down the road, this could be a whole new sport.
And again, the two big names in women's MMA, Chris Cyborg and Gina Carano, both fight around 140 pounds, and Kerry Vera a little smaller than that, but her striking, I would argue, is more polished than either one of those two girls.
Gina fights at around 140 pounds when she makes weight. Comes in a few pounds heavy the last couple times.
Yep.
Yeah, I gotta say, if you're a fighter, you have two responsibilities really that you can control. Coming in on weight and having good cardio, just like these girls are shown here. Taking it to each other in the last few seconds of the round.
So a great flurry there for Kerry Vera at the end of her professional debut. Great respect between the two fighters, Leslie Smith and Kerry Vera. And Brandon, I think, a sigh of relief. Very happy with the performance tonight. Of course, Leslie Smith is all smiles, and Kerry Vera, it would seem, has won her mixed martial arts debut. Yeah,
this could go either way, but I'm going to say that it's leaning a little towards Kerry Vera. Obviously, Brandon exceptionally happy, and the crowd giving a standing ovation here. A lot of respect for these women.
And you see the nice shiner there for Leslie Smith.
Still smiling.
Only one smiling more than Smith, I think, is Brandon Vera and the Vera parents there.
Smith reaching a little bit there on those exchanges. I got caught up, so excited watching these two punch each other. At the end of the fight, both of them excited, and just a fantastic display of showmanship.
You see Vera's parents there, Andy and Sherry. I think Sherry's happy it's over. Andy's happy that that Kerry's fighting. All right, we'll see what happens here with the decision. 3 rounds are done. Who wins, Kerry Vera or Leslie Smith?
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds of action, the official scorecard reads as follows. Damas y caballeros, después de 3 asaltos, esta es la decisión oficial. Los jueces D'Amato y Valdés entregan tarjetas idénticas de 30 a 27. Judges D'Amato and Valdés scored about identically at 30-27. Y el juez Bailes anotó 29 a 28. Judge Bailes scores it 29-28. For the winner, by way of unanimous decision, para la ganadora, por decisión unánime, Kerry Vera.
So just as we thought, Kerry Vera gets the W in her mixed martial arts debut. One of those three judges gave that second round in all likelihood to Leslie Smith, but quite a show put on by both of these ladies, and Kerry Vera certainly a name to keep an eye on, not only in the Bellator Fighting Championships, but also in women's mixed martial arts.
Yeah, she's a tough girl. Get a couple more fights under her belt. I'd love to see Kerry Vera match up against a girl like Gina Carano. Obviously, Gina has a tough fight against Cyborg, but you see Brandon now becoming a fan.
You know, I think the key for Kerry Vera, Jay, going forward will be trying to develop that ground game, because she went the full 15 minutes tonight, which is great, but she didn't have to hit the canvas a single time, and that's experience that she needs to get at some point. So Brandon Vera really enjoying Kerry Vera's debut, as were Andy and Sherry Vera. Kerry Vera making a statement in her mixed martial arts debut. The Bellator action continues from Chicago when we return to the Aragon Ballroom. So 3 rounds now in the lightweight division. 2 guys that have already fought once for the Bellator Fighting Championships. Alonzo Martinez against Victor Meza. And for Alonzo, well, it was back to the drawing board after a tough loss to Toby Imada.
I worked on my wrestling game, and you know, I worked on my flaws from that fight. You know, he shouldn't have not took me down. So this fight, I'm gonna stay up the whole time.
Well, the name Toby Imada, of course, ubiquitous now with mixed martial arts fans. The guy he beat before the inverse triangle choke against Jorge Masvidal was this man, Zo Diddy Alonzo Martinez, fighting out of the Premier Combat Center in Omaha, Nebraska.
See, both of these guys have a lot on the plate now. Coming off of losses, sometimes you see the toughest fights happen right after 2 fighters face each other after losses. They know what's at stake here. Both of these guys had opportunities in the tournament. They were both obviously good enough to get into the tournament. And it's going to be one of those situations where if you lose, now you got to start thinking about, am I going to be fighting you know, in Bellator down the road, or what's my next step?
Now, Martinez insisted to me after his Bellator debut back in April that the weight cut, the very difficult weight cut and weigh-in, wasn't a factor come fight night. But this week, he talked a lot about how much easier that weight cut was, a 6-pound difference on the day of the fight compared to April. So will that play a factor against Victor Meza? That remains to be seen. But he has worked on the wrestling, as you saw from the clip there, and hopefully that takedown defense will be improved. You're talking about a very good athlete here in Alonzo Martinez, an all-state safety and a state champion wrestler while in high school in Nebraska. 4-time Victory Fighting Championships lightweight champion, and has also fought some pretty big names, one of which is here tonight.
Clay Guida, absolutely. He has a submission loss to Eve Edwards. He's fought guys like Clay Guida. And if you can hang in the ring with a Clay Guida or an Eve Edwards, you're definitely up there in your weight class. Those guys are no slouches.
His opponent, Victor Meza, looks back at his Bellator debut.
Well, it was my first loss, so it kind of upset me a lot. I obviously felt like, as far as beating somebody up physically, I beat him, but obviously by points and strategy, which is how you win, I lost. It made me want to go back to the gym and just hurt somebody. It made me want to train harder, and it made me not ever want to take another loss again.
So here is Victor Meza, fought at 170 pounds in the welterweight quarterfinals, lost that fight. Undefeated, though, at 155 pounds, and that's what he's fighting at tonight.
Yeah, like you said, he did fight at 170 pounds. Feels 155 is a little more of a natural weight for him. Not a very big 170-pound guy, considering a lot of the 70-pounders cut down from 190, 200. A guy like Thiago Alves, right now, he's probably 205 pounds, cutting 35 pounds for his fight against George St. Pierre. So 55, see if he has a little more luck here, a little more of a natural weight class.
Meza representing Southwest MMA, Tempe, Arizona, trains with the likes of Drew Fickett, Efren Escudero, Santino DeFranco's in his corner tonight. And that first career loss we mentioned in the welterweight quarterfinals to Omar De La Cruz. And Santino DeFranco was very candid with me earlier this week on our way back from the airport, told me that Meza made some white belt level mistakes in that opening fight. So looking to bounce back here tonight against Alonzo Martinez. And not surprisingly says he feels a whole lot stronger at 155 than he does at 170 pounds.
It's going to be interesting to see if that makes a big difference. Sometimes the difference can just be mentally. You can feel like, okay, I've cut down weight, these guys aren't as big. I know, for instance, I fought at 85, I fought at 70, I fought at 55, and God, if I could make 35, I'd do it, but I'm not going to be in the future.
Well, one interesting storyline to the fight here, Victor Mesa's brother Yaotsen submitted Alonso Martinez actually with a guillotine last October, so some familiarity here with the Mesa camp. Yaotsen and Victor Mesa both decidedly different fighters. I know Yaotsen is probably the stronger fighter on the ground and Victor the better on his feet, but at least the blueprint is there. We'll see if Victor Mesa can employ it tonight against Alonso Martinez. All right, let's get ready for the action. We send it inside the circle.
Siguiente combate de esta noche, pactado a 3 asaltos en la división peso ligero. Ladies and gentlemen, the next bout of the evening, set for 3 rounds of MMA action in the lightweight division. Los jueces son, the judges are Cesar Valdez, Anthony Bailes y Brian Puchillo. El referee, Michael Reed. Presentando la esquina azul, introducing the blue corner, vestido de los colores mexicanos de verde, blanco y rojo. He steps in wearing the colors of Mexico, green, white, and red. Su peso oficial, 157 libras. His official weight, 157 pounds. Un especialista en estilo libre, con un récord profesional de 24 victorias y 12 derrotas. He is a freestyle fighter with an MMA record of 24 victories along with 12 defeats. Representing Elite and Premier Combat Center, Omaha, Nebraska, Alonso Zo Diddy Martinez. En la esquina opuesta, in the opposite corner, vestido de blanco con rojo y negro. He steps into the ring wearing white trunks with black and red. Su peso oficial, 156 libras. His official weight, 156 pounds. Igual que su rival, practica el arte marcial de estilo libre, con un récord profesional de 9 victorias y 1 derrota. He too is a freestyle fighter with an MMA record of 9 victories against 1 lone defeat. Representing Southwest MMA, Phoenix, Arizona, Victor Mesa.
Fighter, step forward. Fighter, step forward. Gentlemen, you know the rules that we broke down to you earlier. I want you to follow them to the letter. Obey my rules at all times. I want you guys to go ahead and touch gloves. Show me everything you got.
So both these guys come in after a loss in their Bellator debut, but for Victor Mesa, the first loss of his career. You remember what you did after the first loss in your career, Jay?
I cried. That's what I did.
You actually went on an 8-fight winning streak thereafter. So Victor Mesa trying to maybe follow in your footsteps a little bit. Then you ran into Thiago Alves after those 8 wins. But
I'm telling you, that's the problem. You get a few wins under your belt, man. You get a false sense of confidence about not having to change game plans or evolve really too much. And I'm a firm believer that everyone needs to get, a couple losses under their belt. Just makes you so much better as a fighter. You see George St. Pierre comes out, has a loss against Matt Hughes, now just way more dominant. And these guys, obviously together, both of these guys need to get a win. Mesa, Martinez, let's see what they can do in the clinch.
2 hungry fighters, and you're seeing that early on here.
Couple good kicks there by Martinez. Kind of ironic that Martinez said he had to work on his wrestling a little more. He wasn't happy that he got taken down by Toby Amata, obviously a high school former Nebraska State champion. Sometimes you don't.
Maybe rested on his laurels a little bit and taking his wrestling for granted, and Amata took advantage. Oh. You see Mike Reed in quickly there. Victor Mesa with a low blow.
Victor Mesa saying it wasn't low, it was high. Right away, he didn't believe it.
Can you continue?
Let's take a look and see if that was low or not.
Are you ready? I can give you a minute. Good to go.
Yeah, that's right in the kisser, no?
Yeah, I gotta say that was low. You know, when the fighter's bent over, it's hard to tell exactly where it hits, but I don't think these guys lie.
And Zo Diddy's right back in there. Solid outside leg kick there.
Mesa threw another knee. That was a little bit low, but landed in the thigh.
Alonzo Martinez, 24-12 in his career, a ton of experience, but really wants to show the Bellator executive something tonight. Said he really almost needs a knockout victory.
Everybody can use a knockout victory. Everybody wants that YouTube highlight clip coming off of Toby Amada's crazy finish and then the crazy back fist we saw.
Yeah, Jair Reyes with the spinning back fist. But, you know, you talk so much about coming in off a loss, but a 2-fight losing streak is really not a place you want to be in mixed martial arts, and both of these guys trying to avoid that very situation right here tonight.
Both guys throwing a lot of kicks. Oh, Martinez saying bring it on.
Well, this was the forecast for this one, and so far so good on the feet.
Meza's got to be careful about throwing those hands. You notice when he throws those punches, he keeps his chin up. Not something you want to do. You get tagged on the chin that way in those exchanges, and you'll hit the canvas pretty quick.
Well, 3 or 4 solid left hands to the body there for Alonzo Martinez. You don't want to lose to both Meza brothers, right? Got the loss to Yautz, and can't lose to Victor, too.
And the flip side of the coin, it's a good bonding moment for the Meza brothers.
Sure, absolutely. Again, another solid outside leg kick for Zo Diddy.
Yep. Victor Meza needs to start checking that kick, bringing up his left leg. Those things are really going to accumulate. Alonzo Martinez is connected with about 5 of those so far, and they've each one, you just heard a slap through the arena here. They're hitting flush. Mouthpiece of, I think it's Alonzo Martinez on the floor now.
So Meza's starting to get it going there a little bit with the strikes as we go under 2 minutes to go in the opening round.
Meza doing a good job of just reversing and putting Martinez's back against the cage.
Now, we mentioned both of these guys were tournament participants. Alonzo Martinez at 155, Victor Meza at 170. So if there is a future lightweight tournament, you know, maybe these guys would find their way into that field. Certainly a win tonight would help that cause.
Yeah, I think these guys are going to have to get a couple of wins. Oh, he said he caught a leather low knee there.
That one might have hurt more than the first one.
Yeah, that was a low knee that the referee did not see. Little miniature Herb Dean in there.
Mike Reed does look like a mini Herb Dean, doesn't he? Meza throwing those knees inside the legs to the body.
Little blood underneath the nose there of Alonzo Martinez. Good takedown.
Oh, and you see the blood splatter there after the Martinez elbow. Not sure whose it is.
The old 2 to the body, 1 to the head trick. And that's blood off of the nose, I think, of Alonzo Martinez. You know, Victor Meza has been in this position, though, a million times. You said Santino DeFranco. Santino had the opportunity to train with all those guys down at Southwest MMA. And, you know, Santino DeFranco, one of the best jiu-jitsu guys I think I've ever had a chance to roll with. So.
All right, an electric first round between Alonzo Martinez and Victor Meza. Both guys need a win. The second round's yours after this. So a very competitive first round between Victor Meza and Alonzo Martinez. The Martinez corner in between rounds just telling him to get his hands up. You know, I think they have confidence in his striking, but defensively, got to get those hands up.
Yeah, he was saying about keeping the hands up and throw some shots to Victor Meza's body. So we'll see if that's something he's able to execute here. I think if I'm Victor Meza, I felt at the end of that round, obviously I got a reversal and threw some good leather on the ground. Let's see if that's where this goes. Got to imagine that Santino DeFranco in the corner of Victor Meza is telling him, get your leg up and check those kicks. See that? See his front leg start to come up? He's expecting that kick, and he's going to start throwing those right hands right down the pipe. And that right round kick has been working to the leg of Victor Meza for Alonzo Martinez, so I think he's going to keep throwing it.
Martinez throwing haymakers. Not sure he landed any of them.
You know, the fans love it when both guys just stand toe-to-toe and have that agreement. Let's just punch each other and see who falls first.
You see Martinez trying to get that left hook off.
Again, the action right in front of us here in the front row seat as Meza works that over-under.
Martinez told us, Jay, he wasn't going to be taken down in this fight. If there was one thing that he wanted to showcase other than the power, it's the takedown defense, and a nice takedown for him there.
Good outside leg trip. It's a great leg trip. We'll get to see what Victor Meza can do here from open guard. Needs to work either his right foot out, close his guard, or use that leverage and push off of the hips of Alonzo Martinez to create some space.
Let's go, guys.
You're going to see Alonzo Martinez try to pass here from guard after he punches a few times. He's going to step his left leg over the knee of Victor Meza and try to work around to the side here. Now he's in the half guard. Little better position for Alonzo Martinez. Victor Meza needs to forget about holding down your opponent and push on the hips so you can work him back into guard. Otherwise, he's going to mount like he just did.
Yeah, he's trying to slip out, and it didn't work. And as you mentioned, the full mount there for Alonzo Martinez.
Well, Alonzo Martinez definitely needs to work on the jiu-jitsu a little bit here. Needs to let go of the body of, Victor Meza needs to work on the jiu-jitsu. Needs to let go of Alonzo Martinez's body and, not turning the back. Turning the back's not a good idea. He's hoping he slides Alonzo Martinez off and over his shoulders.
Martinez doing a nice job hanging on.
Well, Victor Meza can grab Alonzo Martinez's head. He might be able to pull him off over the top, but I'd much rather be in Martinez's position here, having both hooks in and starting to work the choke.
Sure.
Oh, that's in deep. That's going to be it. It's it. That's going to be it. It's all over.
There's the tap.
Beautiful.
As you called very quickly, Alonzo Martinez wanted the finish. Mission accomplished. Sinks in on the rear naked choke. A disappointed Victor Meza after a 9-0 start. Now 0-2 in the Bellator Fighting Championships. And Alonzo Martinez, after the rear naked choke loss to Toby Imada, now he gets the rear naked choke victory over Victor Meza. And you know Martinez wanted this. Spent a lot of time away from his 2-year-old son in order to really focus on training for this fight, and he gets that much-needed victory. You see the disappointment there on Santino DeFranco's face as his guy goes down once again.
Yeah, it's back to the drawing board, I think, for Victor Meza. Needs to work his jiu-jitsu a little bit, just making some basic mistakes, and
yeah,
that happens. And unfortunately, a rear naked choke is not something you want to have happening to you. We look at the takedown here. Nice double underhooks. Gets a beautiful leg trip on Victor Meza. Just textbook takedown there. And you see the end of the fight. Alonzo Martinez has both hooks in. He works that left arm around the throat. And Victor Meza tries to peel the hand off and defend, but unfortunately that choke is in too deep. Didn't even need to lock it up all the way. Just nice and tight. Squoze him. It's all over. Chalk up a win in Alonzo Martinez's corner for Bellator.
It was interesting, though. Alonzo Martinez didn't even necessarily have that second hand in, but evidently it was tight enough.
Damas y caballeros, la esquina roja se rinde por causa de una estrangulación mata-león con un tiempo oficial de 2 minutos 43 segundos el segundo asalto. Ladies and gentlemen, a rear naked choke forces the red corner to tap out with an official time of 2 minutes 43 seconds of round number 2. Your winner, by way of submission, el vencedor por sumisión, Alonzo Zodiri Martinez.
So Alonzo Martinez had been susceptible to the submission in his career. 9 submission losses, including his last 4. But now he gets the submission victory over Victor Meza and exacts a little revenge against the Meza clan after losing by guillotine choke to Yaotsin Meza by guillotine choke last October. So Alonzo Martinez now 3-3-1 over his last 7. The Bellator action continues from Chicago when we return. So who doesn't like a good heavyweight fight? If you like MMA, you like the heavies. Jay White against Eddie Sanchez. Jay White, though, didn't necessarily grow up a fighter, but he is one now.
I started fighting because there's just I never fought before. I just wanted something to do, and I started in jiu-jitsu, and I took it to the Pan Ams and everything I can do, and fighting was just the next progression. and I never got many street fights, so it was just fun to me.
Well, I guess when you're 6'3" tall and 259 pounds, and you're looking for something to do, I guess you either eat or fight, and Jay White has chosen to fight.
You know, I think you can do both at the same time if you're that big. Who's going to tell you no? 260 pounds, that's a beast of a man. He's actually 30 pounds heavier than Eddie Sanchez, and you know, I can't really speak intelligently on how much the weight variance at heavyweight plays a big role. I mean, they're just huge guys.
Jay White fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada. You may have heard of Extreme Couture, representing Team Couture tonight. Trains with the likes of Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonner, and Randy, of course, when he's around. Jay White actually used to train with Renzo Gracie. I guess maybe they had a falling out.
Yeah, Renzo Gracie, a tough guy to have a falling out with. I mean,
you, right?
I've known Renzo for like 15 years, and he's one of the nicest guys. Every time you see Renzo, yeah, he's just smiling all the time. So, you know, who knows what happened there, but obviously Jay White with Renzo's camp for a long time. So, as he said, he has that solid jiu-jitsu game, went to the Pan Ams. It's a big gi jiu-jitsu tournament that they do every year. So I'm assuming that Jay White is going to try to take this to the ground and get those submissions. Like you said, training with some tough guys now, and hopefully this makes a change and leap in his career.
It says the biggest change since joining the Couture's confidence, his attitude, and his mindset. His opponent, Eddie Sanchez. You may have heard of him.
The reason I got into MMA and fighting was, you know, I've always been competitive, but, you know, I've always been a little scrapper here and there growing up. I've been in my share of fights. It's definitely way different than a structured MMA fight, but a fight's a fight, whether it be in the street or whatever. You know, so I grew up scrapping here and there, and I was real competitive and, you know, real athletic.
And representing NCFC Fight Team, Carlsbad, California, here is Eddie Sanchez after several fights in the Ultimate Fighting Championships, making his Bellator debut tonight.
I've always liked to watch Eddie Sanchez fight. He's had some tough fights. He fought Marco Krokop, who at one time was considered in the top 5 in the heavyweight division. You know, 3-3 in the UFC, not a horrible record, not a great record. However, all of the fights he's won, his record being 8-3, have come by, they've finished. He hasn't gone to the distance in those fights. So if he's in the fight at the end of the round, or I should say at the end of the fight, it's going to a decision. He hasn't had that happen. 6 knockouts, 2 submissions. He always looks to finish, and it's going to be an explosive fight here with heavyweights.
And this is a much leaner Eddie Sanchez than you may recognize. Was 255 for his last fight against Justin McCulley in December of last year. Now about 225 to 230, weighed in at 231, and actually talked about a potential move down to light heavyweight. So Eddie Sanchez, the new and improved Eddie Sanchez tonight, as he makes his Bellator debut. His trainer is Jeff Clark. Strength and conditioning coach is Andy Schnadig. And this guy's an athlete, a former standout catcher. Played some scout ball in a wooden bat league for the Tampa Bay then Devil Rays straight out of high school, but injured his left knee. And as a catcher, that doesn't work for baseball, so he transitioned into mixed martial arts. And so far, so good. Told us earlier this week, wants to get back to the old Eddie Sanchez. Says he's been overthinking in his last few fights and wants to fight on instinct and make adjustments, and we'll see if he's able to do that tonight against Jay White.
Damas y caballeros, este es el siguiente combate de esta noche, pactado a 3 asaltos en la división peso completo. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our next bout of the evening, set for 3 rounds of MMA in the heavyweight division. Los jueces son, the judges are Salvatore D'Amato, Anthony Bailes y Robert Echo. El referee, Al Wickers. En la esquina azul, in the blue corner, vestido de negro con color rojo y blanco, he steps into the ring wearing black trunks trimmed in red and white. Su peso oficial, 259 libras. His official weight, 259 pounds. Un especialista en estilo libre, con un récord profesional de 4 victorias y 5 derrotas. He's a freestyle fighter with an MMA record of 4 victories against 5 losses. Representing Extreme Couture, Las Vegas, Nevada, Jay White. En la esquina roja, in the red corner, vestido de negro con blanco, rojo y naranja. He steps into the ring wearing the black trunks trimmed in red, white, and orange. Su peso oficial, 231 libras. His official weight, 231 pounds. Practica el arte marcial de boxeo tailandés con un récord profesional de 8 victorias y 3 derrotas. He is a kickboxer with an MMA record of 8 victories against 3 losses. Representing North County Fight Club, Carlsbad, California, Eddie Sanchez.
Okay, fellas in the center, please. Okay, guys, went over the rules in the locker room. Want to have a good, clean fight. Protect yourself at all times. Obey my commands at all times. Fight clean, fight hard. Red corner, any questions? Blue corner, any questions? Let's rock and roll.
Well, we talked about the baseball past for Eddie Sanchez. It was interesting in talking to one of Eddie's managers, Manny Rodriguez, also does our color analysis on ESPN Deportes. Says Eddie throws the right hand literally like a baseball the way he lets it go, so we'll keep an eye on that. And we'll also keep an eye on Eddie Sanchez's jiu-jitsu. He says it's come along within the last year. Certainly we'll have a test in terms of that discipline against a guy in Jay White.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. Jay White coming back from the, having a background in jiu-jitsu. And like you said, being with Renzo, I think that he's going to feel the most comfortable on his feet, and he goes for a shot right away.
Wow, and Jay White taking a lot of early damage. He might be out. And that is the quickest knockout in Bellator history, 10 seconds in.
Good Lord.
Eddie Sanchez, how about that? Jay White still doesn't know where he is as he grabbed for the referee. Eddie Sanchez not wasting any time, 10 seconds in.
Unbelievable. That's what a way to get back on the winning streak. And man, Eddie Sanchez is happy. Like you said, Jay White, so out of it, he shot a single leg on our referee. Not sure if that's going to make the YouTube clip. But an amazing fight, an amazing way to start your career here with Eddie Sanchez in Bellator.
Well, if this is the new and improved Eddie Sanchez, quite a performance tonight. 10 seconds in, he's pointing to the right hand. We told you Manny Rodriguez says he throws it like a baseball, and that hit Jay White like a baseball. He is now has his wits about him there, but certainly triumph for one guy, disappointment for another. Not what Jay White was looking for in his Bellator debut. And Jay, as you take us through this replay, we'll let you see the whole fight.
I appreciate it. See, right away, Jay looks to get that double leg in, and he changes levels, and he gets caught with that one right on the chin. It kind of knocks him into next week, and about 15 more knocked him into next month. He comes to and then shoots. If you look at this from another angle, Jay White changes levels, and Sanchez is in on those right hands and just throwing a bunch of punches. He must have been out for a couple seconds.
Yeah, it looked like it was that quick right uppercut in the middle that did it, and then shortly thereafter, Jay White was down and out for the count. So Eddie Sanchez, you talk about stealing the headlines here at the Aragon Ballroom in Chicago. Eddie Sanchez has done it in the heavyweight division.
Damas y caballeros, este combate concluye con un tiempo oficial de 10 segundos del primer asalto. Ladies and gentlemen, this bout concludes with an official time of 10 seconds of the very first round. Your winner, by way of knockout, el vencedor por knockout, Eddie Sanchez.
Well, exactly how Eddie Sanchez drew it up. He makes quick work in disposing of Jay White here. We'll show you the whole fight. It only lasted 10 seconds. The quick uppercut there for Eddie Sanchez. The ground and pound from there. And Jay White, that's not going to do it against the referee. We will hear from Eddie Sanchez when we return. And if you want to see the featherweight tournament finals, we hope you'll join us June 5th in Ontario, California. Tickets still available. Access them on Ticketmaster.com or any Ticketmaster outlet. The featherweight tournament finals between Jair Reyes and Joe Soto. Tickets still available June 5th in Ontario, California. Well, I guess you know now when Eddie Sanchez is fighting. Not time for a bathroom break. Quite the knockout. The winner standing by with Jason Chambers.
I'm here with your winner, Eddie Sanchez. Eddie, that was the fastest win thus far in Bellator history. Gotta feel good to get back on the winning track.
Yeah, you know, I dedicate this fight to all the fans of Bellator, para todos los fans de Bellator, también los hispanos. I dedicate this fight to my little son, Brody. It's tough being a single father in training, but that's what you guys came to see, knockouts, fast finishes.
Well, talk us through the end of the fight here. You can talk us through the whole fight, all 10 seconds of it.
Well, we knew Jay's an extremely well grappler. We knew he was going to maybe come in with the jab and shoot. I've been working the uppercut to time the shot. I caught him, landed it, and I just had to finish him. And it was a quick fight, and I trained my ass off. I got to give it to North County Fight Club, Jeff Clark, and Andy Schnadig, and everyone else that helped me for this fight, man. I trained hard. I need to get this win back, and I did. Bellator is #1.
Awesome, awesome first fight in Bellator. We look forward to seeing more. Eddie Sanchez, ladies and gentlemen.
So great analysis there from Eddie Sanchez. Was looking to throw that uppercut given the book he had on Jay White, and Eddie Sanchez accomplishes that feat. Quite the Bellator debut. You'll be seeing more of Eddie Sanchez. Mike side, Jason Chambers. I'm John Anik at the Aragon Ballroom, Chicago, Illinois. Hope you're joining us here on Bellator.com for the Bellator Fighting Championship 7. We've gone from 8 fighters down to 4 in the welterweight division. Now a look back at the quarterfinals. Omar De La Cruz against the previously unbeaten Victor Meza, but De La Cruz dominated the action throughout as he hands Meza his first career loss. The Dominican De La Cruz with the victory over Victor Meza, now 2 wins away from the Bellator gold. Well, meantime, equally dominant in his 170-pound quarterfinal was Jorge Ortiz. He took on Aaron Romero, and despite some pre-fight injuries, well, the attorney laid down the law against Romero. Ortiz poised and composed throughout. He was the cleaner, more accurate striker, and as a result, the Naked Man moving on to the welterweight semifinals. Lyman Good lived up to the appreciable hype in his Bellator debut. Good squared off with Hector Urbina in the quarterfinal round, and Good really did a nice job setting the pace early on in the fight. Showed off his much improved wrestling, eventually puts Urbina to sleep with the rear naked choke. Lyman Good 2 wins away from the Bellator gold. And the final spot in the welterweight semifinals, up for grabs between the cage veteran Dave Menne and Norman Parisi. Menne started a bit conservatively, but once the rust was gone, the former UFC middleweight champ imposed his will, locked in on the rear naked choke in the 3rd round. In so doing, he hands Norman Parisi the first loss of his mixed martial arts career. So that took us from 8 down to the final 4. Jorge Ortiz will take on Lyman Good. In most opinions, was the pre-tournament favorite, and in our co-main event, Dave Menne and Omar De La Cruz, 2 spots in the welterweight final on June 12th are in the balance tonight. So the tournament action continues right now in earnest. 3 rounds in the welterweight division. Jorge Ortiz taking on the pre-tournament favorite, Lyman Good, who's unbeaten. And for Ortiz, he doesn't know what a day off is.
Jorge's an amazing athlete. The guy comes from Juarez, from Mexico, every day. He comes into my gym. He trains hard. We do everything. We start with cardio, plyometric workouts, and then we get into the kickboxing, the sparring. Whatever you tell him to do, he's gonna do it. No questions, no buts. You know, he gets in there and he does his job. Always 150%.
The one thing I have to emphasize over and over about Jorge is the mental game and the heart. He already comes with that. I mean, he trains year-round. So for him to have 3 fights in 12 weeks, he's ready. He's ready to go all the time.
He's always ready from the start to the end. You know, he pushes everybody. He brings everybody up. I think he's got a lot of potential to win this tournament.
So here he is, the Juarez, Mexico native, Jorge Ortiz, coming off a unanimous decision victory over Aaron Romero at Bellator 2, and didn't necessarily come into that welterweight quarterfinal healthy, but left with the W, and that's really what matters.
Yep, call him the Naked Man because, as we talked about prior, had a fight one time wearing flesh-colored shorts, and from a distance, people thought he was naked, or at least he gave the appearance of being naked.
Trained for this fight with Team Alliance in San Diego, the likes of Brandon Vera, Gary Padilla, and Omar De La Cruz, who you will see in our next fight against Dave Menne. 12 of Ortiz's 16 career wins have come by stoppage. Really an intellectual approach to mixed martial arts. Calls himself a tactician, a well-rounded guy, very composed, very systematic, and that was certainly on display against Aaron Romero. And Jay, also some pretty big names on his resume.
Yeah, he's fought some of the toughest guys out there, guys at 170 like Joey Villaseñor, John Fitch. He actually has a win over Clay Guida's brother, Jason Guida, who was on The Ultimate Fighter. So Jorge Ortiz, like you said, one of the more intelligent guys you're going to see inside of a cage, an attorney, and I think he knows that physically Lyman Good is going to be much stronger than him. And one of the things I talked about prior is I think he needs to execute a good game plan, and this is someone that I really feel can put together a good game plan and is going to look at a fight from an intellectual standpoint and not get emotional.
Well, he knows he is the underdog against Lyman Good, taking all MMA all the time to a new level.
The biggest challenge of training any young fighter, Lyman or any young fighter, is, you know, these guys are like good-looking guys, and, you know, there's girls running after them all the time. And so, you know, for this fight, you know, he's living here at our headquarters. He actually lives here, and he sleeps in the cage behind. He sleeps in there, and that's his bedroom. You know, so when all the training's done and at night and all the lights go off, he's the only one here, and he's in that cage with a, you know, with his mattress and sleeps here. So the reason I do it is so that he can block everything else out of his life. I brought this boxer in here. He comes in on Tuesday. The guy's going pro, weighs more than Lyman, he's bigger than Lyman. Lyman beats him. He doesn't hold his own, he beats him. He'll go with good college wrestlers and hold his own. He'll grapple black belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, no gi, and hold his own. They won't tap him. They won't get him with anything. So he can do each one of the art forms against the best of each of those art forms and still hold his own and win.
So here he is, Lyman Good out of East Harlem, New York. Very impressive in his Bellator debut last month.
Lyman Good, like you know, like his corner said, is really well-rounded. Been focusing more on the ground game. He's got good hands. The majority of his wins come by knockout or TKO. And the only problem he's had so far is that a lot of his fights have gone the distance. So he hasn't necessarily figured out, you know, a consistent way to finish fights. But he has been getting the W 8 out of 8 times in the cage.
Yeah, got the technical submission victory by rear naked choke over Hector Urbina back at Bellator 2, April 10th, Mohegan Sun Arena in Uncasville, Connecticut. Just a physical specimen, especially for 170 pounds. Has fought at 185 in the past. And you mentioned going the distance. Broke a string of 3 straight decision victories with that win over Hector Urbina. And really says he's a different fighter than he was a month ago. Says he's much stronger, much more conditioned, even though from a physique standpoint it's hard to see, but much stronger and much more well-conditioned than he was just a month ago.
From a physique standpoint, he looks like the after picture from every ad I've ever seen in a Men's Health for diet pills.
Absolutely.
He's a big dude for 170 pounds. And, you know, he reminds me of kind of like when Victor Belfort first came out back in the, what was it, late 90s, I believe. Kind of come out guns blazing, more known for his stand-up, but has a well-rounded game and is just a physical guy. And someone that you gotta take that into account for when you're in the clinch or on the ground. This guy's, he's powerful. One thing Hector Urbina said is that he is strong, this guy.
And there's Lyman Good's mother, Soraya, certainly his biggest fan and supporter. Actually started training with Lyman, got him to go to the gym, and she obviously didn't take her career as far as he has. All right, Lyman Good, Jorge Ortiz, the tournament action in just a moment.
Damas y caballeros, este es el primer combate semifinal en el torneo de eliminación directa de Bellator Fighting Championships en la división peso welter. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our first semi-final bout in the Bellator Fighting Championship Single Elimination Welterweight Tournament. Presentado por, being brought to you by Ford Motor Company, Hecho con Fuerza Ford y ESPN Deportes. Este combate pactado a 3 asaltos. This bout set for 3 rounds of MMA action. Los jueces son, the judges are Salvatore D'Amato, Robert Echo y Brian Puchillo. El referee, Al Wickers. Presentando la esquina azul, introducing the blue corner. Sube el cuadrilátero vestido de verde con rojo, blanco y negro. He steps into the ring wearing the green trunks trimmed in red, white, and black. Su peso oficial, 170 libras. His official weight, 170 pounds. Un especialista en el arte marcial de estilo libre, con un récord profesional de 16 victorias y 4 derrotas. He is a freestyle fighter with an MMA record of 16 victories against 4 defeats. Representando al equipo, representing Team Alliance y Puro Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua, México, Jorge the Naked Man Ortiz. Su rival en la esquina roja, his opponent in the red corner, vestido de negro con color blanco y rojo. He steps into the ring wearing the black trunks trimmed in red and white. Detuvo la báscula, un peso oficial de 171 libras. He tipped the scales at an official 171 pounds. Un especialista en la disciplina de Tiger Showman MMA. Y hasta el momento, invicto a nivel profesional con 8 victorias. He is a specialist in Tiger Showman MMA. And he enters the ring as an undefeated fighter with 8 victories. Representing Tiger Showman's MMA, East Harlem, New York, Lyman Good.
Fellas in the center, please. Okay, fellas, we went over the rules in the locker room. I want to have a good, clean fight. Protect yourself at all times. Obey my commands at all times. Fight clean, fight hard. This is the semifinals for the Bellator Championships. The winner will advance. Good luck, fellas.
Well, you just saw Lyman Good's mother, Soraya, there. Certainly the biggest influence in his mixed martial arts career. Lyman only 23 years old, but really a mature guy. Very well-spoken. Very impressive individual. I also want to point out, too, despite the power and physique of Lyman Good, he's actually gone 2 full years without a knockout. Maybe that changes tonight. $50,000 on the line, and of course, more importantly, a spot in the Bellator welterweight final, June 12th in Uncasville, Connecticut.
This is why I have the greatest job in the world. I get cage-side seats to watch some of the best guys in the world go toe-to-toe, slug it out, and execute game plans to advance and get championship belts, fame and glory.
Sure. And you know, Jorge Ortiz, very much aware that he's the underdog tonight, but
you can't tell the way he's pushing forward, though.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's an experienced guy, and he's not going to be fazed by anything. 16-4, and will be willing to stretch it out and go the distance if needed.
Well, definitely want to see what kind of game plan Ortiz executes here. Again, I think he knows he's got that reach. Probably about a good 2 inches or so on Good.
Ooh, huge nice leg kick there for Lyman Good. See that knee buckle a little bit.
Nice inside leg kick. Both fighters just kind of feeling each other out right now. It's kind of interesting. The first round of a tournament, you'll see guys fight really hard because they want to make it to the second round. Once they get in the second round, they know, like Eddie Alvarez stated, hey, I'm probably going to advance, so my game plan changes a little bit. Sometimes they're a little more tentative because they want to be healthy for that fight in 4 weeks. Oh, Good just missed with that knee by about an inch.
Good throwing haymakers up against the cage.
John, did you tell them, everybody, to fight right in front of us? We've had the best view all night, man.
Yeah, it's been good so far. They've been working this side of the cage.
No pun intended, it has been good so far. And so far, so good. Working well and using the cage.
Ortiz, though, pretty active. I mean, he has landed a lot of shots to the body as you see him continue to pepper there with the right hand. I mean, he is not intimidated. Says he sort of changed his training for this fight, was in there with muscular, strong guys and trying to prepare for Lyman Good. And again, he looks just like he did against Aaron Romero. A picture of focus.
Well, you can just tell physically that Lyman's, I mean, he almost looks twice as strong as Ortiz does. But, you know, we just saw the clinch there, and it wasn't a whole lot that Good did that was very definitive. So, oh, nice head kick.
And that rocked Jorge Ortiz, and he's backing up, and Lyman Good senses blood.
Ortiz, good job of recovery. Doesn't look like he's too phased anymore, but definitely had him on his heels there for a few seconds. Good instincts by Good to follow up.
And if you're impressed by the kick there from Good, you got to be impressed by Jorge Ortiz's ability to recover and not sitting back. Again, volume strikes from Jorge Ortiz.
Well, I think Good knows the importance of not only winning fights, he knows the importance of winning them in a fashion that fans want to see.
Sure.
And he's aggressive now, looking for those wins and coming in with his big right hands and trying to finish the fight.
Again, this is a tournament semifinal in the welterweight division. The winner moves on to the championship.
If there's one place that the fighters I've talked to think Good is, it may be vulnerable, it's on the ground. I know that if you know, I fought Good, or some of the guys we've talked to said he's not really that tested as far as facing high-level jiu-jitsu guys. We haven't seen that, and in his career, admittedly so, he hasn't really fought any top 10 jiu-jitsu guys. So the feet is where he feels the most comfortable, and he's able to keep it there so far. So so far, so good.
Now the question is, how many 170-pounders will be able to get Lyman Good down and get him in uncompromising situations? Easier said than done.
Absolutely. You know, not having come back from a background of being like an NCAA wrestler or things,
right?
You know, being such a physical athlete, his learning curve is so much smaller. You got a guy like John Fitch, who's D1 wrestling champ, fantastic wrestler. Then you've got a guy like George St. Pierre, who only started wrestling once he got into mixed martial arts. And, you know, Fitch has 15 years of wrestling experience on him, and those guys fought. Just because of the fantastic athlete that we saw in GSP, he was able to utilize and take down the more experienced guy. Same thing with Lyman Good. He's just such a physically gifted guy, great athlete. His learning curve, he's going to get really, really, really good really fast.
Yeah, remember, 23 years old. So maybe doesn't look that young, but trust us, he's that young. And
on the flip side of that number, 32 years old, Jorge Ortiz, and doesn't look to be any older for the wear.
Yeah, I mean, there are not a whole lot of situations, Jay, as you're often fond of saying, that Jorge Ortiz hasn't seen in his mixed martial arts career. So, all right, one round in the books. Lyman Good and Jorge Ortiz, a spot in the final on the line.
A little hesitant. Then you're pitter-pattering your punches, right? When you get in and you knock them back, keep your right foot behind you, right? And throw. Throw nicer punches, right? Breathe. How you feel? Good? Let's go, baby. Go for the takedown if you're in there. Tough take him down? Tough to take him down? Okay, when you get in there, and right when you get your double underhooks, when you pitter-patter, go.
So, Jay, what's the message for Lyman Good after round one? Keep doing what you're doing? Or?
Well, you know, you heard his corner said, you want to take him down? I mean, obviously his corner feels that Good can win this anywhere, and from what we've seen, Good threw a few kicks and show us that he can pretty much get this anywhere he wants. Followed up with some really nice punches here. Drove Ortiz all the way across the cage, and Lyman Good's mom was really happy. Saw that kick, and she was like, finish the fight.
How about that? You know, she says she doesn't get too anxious or nervous when Lyman fights. Of course, when your son's 8-0, haven't been too many tenuous moments. But, you know, again, I remain impressed with Lyman Good, but as much with Jorge Ortiz, able to sort of take the beating and keep on coming. And, I mean, in terms of, we don't have the stats for you right now, but I think Ortiz probably threw as many strikes, combination kicks, and punches as Lyman did in the first round.
You know, speaking of having your mother there, my mom's here at this event right now, and she's been to the majority of my fights. You always want mom there when you're winning. You want her to see you, you know, succeed and have her be proud of you. The only unfortunate part of that is in the back of your head, if you're in a bad position, you hate to see mom get all upset once you get that cut opened up.
Huge takedown there for Lyman Good. We'll see what he can do with it.
Speaking of the ground game, we're going to see how he does fare, like you said, on the ground. Heard the corner, Lyman Good, say, you want to take him down? And obviously the answer was yes.
And of course, Lyman Good not without ground skills. You mentioned his last fight against Hector Urbina. Dominated the action on the feet, and then when he took it to the ground, was able to lock in on the rear naked choke. And by the way, a technical submission. He put Urbina to sleep. So he's got some submissions in his repertoire as well.
Jorge, you see he's blocking with his left knee there. He's keeping that left knee posted on his knee, on his opposite leg. This kind of help prevent Good from mounting easily and advancing his position. He's just kind of holding Good down now and waiting to see if he has an opening here, if the ref is going to stand him up.
Now, oftentimes I like to get a prediction from you before the fight, not necessarily on the winner or the loser, but how you expect the action to go down. And your forecast for this was? that you thought it had the potential to go the distance because Jorge Ortiz has sort of been there, done that, and wouldn't be, you know, intimidated by Lyman Good's power and presence.
Yeah, I thought this fight was probably going to go 3-round decision. You know, I think that Good is a fantastic athlete, hasn't necessarily, you know, isn't a black belt in jiu-jitsu, not a world-class striker, but he's really good everywhere. He's not great any one place. He's a high-level guy that, you know, you got to deal with. And the more you see guys that are at that level, what it really comes down to isn't the technique anymore. It's how good is your cardio and how much of a physical specimen are you. And obviously Good is just that. And on the flip side of that, Ortiz, you know, obviously coming in as the underdog, it's going to be difficult for him to put Good away.
Yeah, well, it was sort of interesting there. I mean, it seemed as though Good was beating his head against the fence. I'm sure that strike was coming from a different place on the side, but Good, I guess, doing a nice job working his opponent up against the cage. Certainly a tactic a lot of people try to employ.
Yeah, it's good. You know, not only shows that you're employing tactics, but on the flip side of that, you're executing a game plan, and you have the ability to have good cage consciousness, really, about where you're at in the cage and what the smart thing to do is, and you're not just relying on the emotion of get in there and try to kill the guy.
Crowd getting a little restless here, but the action really has been solid overall tonight from Chicago. And Lyman Good, you know, he's active here on the ground, so not necessarily time for Al Wickers to stand up the action.
I think that we're going to see a stand-up here any second now. I just think that, you know, there's been action on the ground, but one thing that outside of action you want to see is the referee's got to tell them to improve their position. You know, 5 minutes like this is going to be boring to watch, so we need to see someone look to end the fight here or advance their position, get cross-eyed, or start to work for some submissions. Doing the same thing over and over and over and over again with very little result. This is something the fans want to see, and I don't think it's going to be something the ref is going to want to see here in a minute.
And again, you see Lyman Good sort of working Ortiz's head into the cage. That I've never been in a cage, but I would reckon that doesn't feel all that good.
It's annoying. You know what I think is the worst isn't getting your head slammed off the mat. It's definitely the wire of the cage there. You feel that a lot when you're getting pressed up against that. And there's the stand-up that we anticipated about a minute ago.
Yeah, probably, I was going to say 45 seconds or a minute after you called for it, but the fighters are back up as we go under a minute in round number 2, a welterweight tournament semifinal.
Oh, nice uppercut by Good. Good looking to finish the fight here.
And Jorge Ortiz is opened up. There goes the mouthpiece, I believe, and a huge cut there over Ortiz's left eye, and that one's pouring out, and Lyman Good.
Oh, wicked cut over the eye of Good. They're going to take a second here and let the doctors look at that.
Yeah.
You know, fighter safety is paramount. Look at Good kind of admiring his work there for a second.
Yeah, and again, you see the cut there, a nice slit there on the forehead, and Al Wickers is going to see if Jorge Ortiz will be allowed to continue.
For some reason, the doctor does stop this, then that would be Lyman Good's win.
Yeah, and first knockout of some kind, I guess, in more than 2 years.
I think they would call it a doctor stoppage. I don't necessarily have it as a knockout.
We remind you, too, elbows not allowed in the first 2 rounds of the tournament fights here. All the Bellator Fighting Championship fights contested under the unified rules of mixed martial arts. And that'll do it. Lyman Good is on to the tournament final, June 12th in Uncasville, Connecticut. There is his mother, Soraya. Lyman Good now 9-0 in his mixed martial arts career. Too much blood there over the right eye of Jorge Ortiz. Again, the skin on the forehead, Jay, is so thin that you open up a cut and that'll bleed.
Yeah, well, you know, your extremities bleed the most because your heart pumps the hardest to get the blood to your head and your hands and things like that. Cuts on your chest, stuff like that, they don't tend to bleed as much. You get a cut on the head, and obviously, you know, fighter safety is the #1 thing. This is a sport, no matter what it looks like, the ultimate and utmost respect shown by both guys, and if the doctor says, hey, I don't think you can continue anymore, that's it. Fight another day.
So good decision by the medical staff here in Chicago, Illinois. Good decision by Al Wickers to sort of intervene and get that cut checked out. And Lyman Good is now pocketed $75,000. He gets a chance at $100,000 more and his first career world title. He will fight the winner of our next semifinal, Omar De La Cruz and Dave Menne, June 12th in Uncasville, Connecticut.
Lyman did a really good job just powering through a double leg there, changed his level, and just such a monstrous guy. He gets in and touches you at all with those double legs, and you're going to be going down. we look towards the end of the fight here, Lyman Good threw a couple of punches, threw a knee, then did a really good job here at changing his level. Throwing a couple uppercuts, gets in and drops that level change, and gets a little ankle pick behind the knee. I'm sorry, a knee pick. Knee tap, if you will. Take a look at that from another angle. Very not Tito Ortiz, Victor Belfort style, throwing punches left and right. Hits him with a couple good uppercuts. And as Ortiz is backing up, Good changes his level here, taps behind the knee, gets another takedown, and we see that huge cut up and up over the eye of Ortiz.
And another reason to celebrate for Mom. Soraya Good, Lyman Good. I'm not exactly sure if it was the knee, the left hook, or the uppercut, but either way, Lyman Good opens up that cut and bounces Jorge Ortiz off the bracket. We send it inside for the official announcement. Here's Lupe Contreras.
Damas y caballeros, bajo la dirección del médico de turno, el referee Al Wickers, para la contienda con un tiempo oficial de 4 minutos 37 segundos del segundo asalto por causa de una lesión sobre el ojo derecho de la esquina azul. Ladies and gentlemen, after consulting with the ringside physician, referee Al Wickers stops the bout with an official time of 4 minutes 37 seconds of round number 2 due to a severe laceration over the right eye of the blue corner. Your winner, by way of technical knockout, el vencedor por knockout técnico. And moving on to the finals of the Bellator Fighting Championships, Lyman Good.
And so perhaps not exactly how Lyman Good wanted the fight to end due to a doctor's stoppage, but boy did he dominate the action throughout. Just a vicious striker, forcing his will upon Jorge Ortiz, and Soraya Good marveling at her son's success. And this is the biggest opportunity of his career, and Lyman Good is taking full advantage now. 9-0 in his career, 2-0 for the Bellator Fighting Championships. He is on to the championship round. He will face the winner of Dave Menne and Omar De La Cruz. If you want to hear from Lyman Good, not to worry. Keep it here on Bellator.com. We'll hear from the finalists when we return to the Aragon Ballroom, Chicago, Illinois. And if you want to see the featherweight tournament finals, we hope you'll join us June 5th in Ontario, California. Tickets still available. Access them on Ticketmaster.com or any Ticketmaster outlet. The featherweight tournament finals between Jair Reyes and Joe Soto. Tickets still available June 5th in Ontario, California. Well, he entered the Bellator Fighting Championships with 3 straight decision victories. It's been all about the finish thus far for Lyman Good. He's standing by with Jason Chambers.
I'm here with your winner, Lyman Good. Lyman, fantastic performance. What was your game plan coming into this fight?
Well, no, every opponent poses a different threat. Coming from Jorge Ortiz, I expected he was going to try to stand up with me. So I came in there trying to watch his range and his jab punches, because I know he's good and he's proficient with that.
Well, talk us through the end of the fight here.
I was just trying to be very composed, very relaxed with him. With every different opponent, I try to work a different game plan. That's a way for me to mature as a fighter. So I came in there just trying to keep the distance out of his jab punches when I could. Just come in, try to pressure him, keep tight against him, make sure he wasn't able to use his length against me.
So you have somebody special in the audience that comes to all your fights. Who's that?
That would be my mother.
Your mom's here somewhere. Let's get Mom in the ring. Where's Mom at? Come on in here, Mom. Mom gonna be at the finale at the Mohegan Sun June 12th, I'm sure.
Yeah, she's gonna be there, but expect a lot of people to be there as well as my main support, not just my mother and my family.
How does it feel seeing your son move on to the finale June 12th at the Mohegan Sun?
Wow, I am so proud of him. I am honored to be his mother. And I gotta tell you, he's got a whole team Tiger Showman. Without them, this couldn't happen. I mean, you know, thank you, thank you.
Well, a fantastic performance, and I know I'm looking forward to you fighting the winner of the next fight, June 12th at the Mohegan Sun. Lyman Good, ladies and gentlemen.
So Lyman Good moves on, gets the TKO victory over Jorge Ortiz. Who will his opponent be? Will it be the former UFC middleweight champion Dave Menne, or will it be the pride of the Dominican Republic, Omar De La Cruz? The tournament action continues in a moment from Chicago, Illinois. So Lyman Good, the first to punch his ticket to the welterweight final next month. Who will join him? Will it be Omar De La Cruz or the veteran Dave Menne? First, we'll hear from Omar De La Cruz, a decided change to his training for this fight.
Bueno, número uno, entrené fuera de mi país, porque la primera pelea yo entrené en mi país. Ahora entrené, como ustedes saben, en el gimnasio de Brandon Vera, con él y con el entrenador, con el manager. Hice mucho cage, muchas rejas. Practiqué mucho en la reja porque como en mi país no tengo todavía el cage, me pusieron a practicar mucho en el cage ahora. Mucho. En mi pelea busco presionar para cansar al oponente, para así poder hacer mis ataques mejor. Cansar, presionar todo el tiempo, para atacar entonces en un ataque, atacar al oponente con todo al final cuando ya esté bien cansado.
So without question, the biggest fight of his short mixed martial arts career. He is Omar De La Cruz, representing Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. And as you just saw in the feature piece, his first time training outside of the Dominican Republic and did a lot of work in the cage. Doesn't have a cage in the DR. How does that play into the fight tonight?
Difference because a cage and a ring is a completely different thing. I mean, a cage has bounce back and spring off of it. There's certain things and techniques that you can't utilize in a ring that you can use in a cage. A cage tends to favor the wrestlers and strikers a little more. You can get the ground and pound action. Doesn't tend to favor the jiu-jitsu guys. Omar De La Cruz, you know, clearly a Taekwondo guy, but a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. So, you know, this is going to be interesting to see if that plays a big factor. I don't know if he's going to be able to utilize the cage as much as he'd like to.
Well, his kicks are indeed legendary. We'll see if he can get him off tonight, coming off a unanimous decision win over Victor Meza in the welterweight quarterfinals back at our second show in Connecticut. And you see Brandon Vera in the corner there for Omar De La Cruz. We'll see if training stateside in San Diego helps his performance tonight against the veteran Dave Menne, who's battled back, and he has the heart of a champion.
I see heart in David. It's in his eyes. The second that I met him, I saw that about him. It kind of tugged at me a little bit. There's so much that is said in just that one word, heart. There really is. There's a whole story that goes behind it, but it's very simply said. He has a lot of heart.
It's amazing to think that he's still here and he's still doing what he's doing. He's still at the peak of his career right now. Really. The difference that he's made in the last year and a half from where he was with the sickness, and now he's back tearing people's heads off.
I just been trying to build, you know, one thing after another comes back. Now I feel better. So we're trying to, I guess, put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Hopefully come up with a happier ending this time.
So Dave Menne, the first ever UFC middleweight champion, has come back from a really tough war with Lyme's disease and now is 2 wins away from winning a world title for the first time in 8 years.
This is definitely a big step for Dave Menne. He comes in, I have over 60 fights against a guy who's only had 5 fights. He's got to feel confident at least that, you know, he knows anything that Omar De La Cruz throws at him, he's going to have an answer for. Dave Menne has a fantastic ground game. He's got really solid wrestling, good stand-up. You know, his losses have come to some of the best guys in the sport: Murlo Bustamante, Ed Herman, Hayato Sakurai, Matt Hughes. But, you know, he's got wins over guys like Carlos Newton, Chris Lytle. I mean, his list just goes on and on and on.
Coming off the rear naked choke win over Norman Parisi in the welterweight quarterfinals, said he got the feel of fighting again, was able to shake the rust off after about a year away. And he said the biggest challenge was just getting readjusted to the pace, and he had a great quote. He said, "You feel the burn and you run through the fire." And that's what Dave Menne did in his first fight. The first 2 rounds fairly close, even though I gave them both to Menne, and then locked in on the choke in the 3rd round to move on, and is now 1 win away from facing Lyman Good in the tournament final. But a huge task awaits tonight in the form of Omar De La Cruz, and a lot of different lines out there from odds makers. And it was interesting that in some late lines, Omar De La Cruz was a slight favorite to beat Dave Menne. So despite the clear experience edge for Dave Menne, De La Cruz was a slight favorite, according to some. And there you see Dave Menne's girlfriend, Destiny, an anxious moment right now as she gets ready to watch Dave Menne in the welterweight semifinals. And it has been a busy week for Dave Menne after he made the quick 5-hour drive from Minneapolis, Minnesota. He was at the Children's Memorial Hospital in Illinois and doing a lot of good things there with the kids.
You know, I always like to see when MMA fighters give back to the sport. You know, I recently went to a charity MMA event, and a lot of the fighters are involved with charity organizations because this has such a crazy feel to it. Got to offset it.
Caballeros, este es el segundo combate semifinal del torneo de eliminación directa de Bellator Fighting Championships en la división peso welter. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our second semifinal bout in the Bellator Fighting Championships Single Elimination Welterweight Tournament. Este combate pactado a 3 asaltos. This bout set for 3 rounds. Los jueces asignados a este combate son, the judges assigned to this bout are Salvatore D'Amato, Robert Echo y Brian Puccillo. El referee, Michael Reed. En la esquina azul, in the blue corner, vestido de negro con color blanco y naranja. He steps into the ring, wearing the black trunks trimmed in white and orange. Su peso oficial, 169 libras. His official weight, 169 pounds. Un especialista en taekwondo y jiu-jitsu brasileño, con un récord profesional de 4 victorias y 1 derrota. He is a taekwondo and jiu-jitsu specialist with an MMA record of 4 victories and 1 lone defeat. Representing Fight Training Academy y Team Alliance, Santo Domingo, República Dominicana, Omar de la Cruz. Y en la esquina roja, in the red corner, vestido de blanco con color negro. He steps into the ring, wearing the white trunks trimmed in black. Detuvo la báscula, un peso oficial de 171 libras. He tipped the scales at an official 171 pounds. Practica el arte marcial de estilo libre, con un récord profesional de 46 victorias, con 15 derrotas y 2 empates. He is a freestyle fighter with an extensive MMA record of 46 victories, along with 15 losses and 2 bouts even. Representing Northway MMA, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Dave the Warrior Menne.
Step forward. Thanks. Remember the rules and regulations we broke to you earlier. That's what I'm looking for now. You obey my commands at all times. Gentlemen, touch gloves. Show us what you got.
So the right to fight Lyman Good in the welterweight championship is on the line. You just saw an Omar De La Cruz supporter there, Carlos Marmol, the Chicago Cubs relief pitcher, also a Dominican native, and Cubs got rained out today against the Astros, so Carlos Marmol taking in Omar De La Cruz's fight against Dave Menne. And let's get to the action. 50 grand also on the line here between De La Cruz and Dave Menne.
Dave Menne goes from 0 to 100 miles an hour. Not moving, not moving. 25 punches into a clinch. Gotta love Dave Menne. But, you know, forcing the clinch is probably the safest thing for Dave. He's trying to work the outside leg trip right here. And, you know, a lot of the fighters not wanting to take too much damage going into the final because, again, you got to fight in 4 weeks, and that's $100,000 on the line.
Sure.
Oh, nice. Nice job. De La Cruz missed that leg trip, and Menne just has fantastic balance, was able to capitalize and stay on top. Now we'll get to see some of the purple belt jiu-jitsu against the veteran in Dave Menne.
Everyone associated with Omar De La Cruz just supremely confident coming into this fight. And part of that, I think, was his performance in his last time out against Victor Meza. But I think most of it was the fact that he built a lot of momentum by training for the past month. And people just say his hands are terrific. And now having an opportunity to work on them, we'll see if he can showcase them tonight against a guy who's been in the cage more than 60 times in a 12-year career.
And one of the things that a lot of the guys that have been around the game for a long time, we all kind of say is that there's no easy fights left. You know, you can look at some boxing guys and go, this guy's 60-0, and this guy's got five fights, and that's going to be a huge differentiating factor. But, you know, mixed martial arts, Dave Menne has been fighting since, you know, the early mid-90s when, you know, some of the fights he took were against guys that said, you know, you can't take me down. I only need to do karate. And that's not to diminish his record at all. I mean, he's got, you know, fights against Dennis Hallman, Chris Lytle, a bunch of studs. Carlos Newton, who, you know, wore the belt at one point for the UFC. But right now, there's guys like Omar De La Cruz who come from a striking background, a third-degree black belt in Taekwondo. Dave Loasso, also a black belt in Taekwondo, throws huge kicks and huge elbows. So you can't really discount anybody now in this sport.
Menne getting going a little bit with the strikes from up top here. Peppering that body and then trying to work to the head. Mixing up with the hands and now the knees. A nice striking display there from Dave Menne, but Omar De La Cruz able to get up and he floors Dave Menne.
Dave Menne looked like Eddie Sanchez right there.
Solid takedown there for Omar De La Cruz.
De La Cruz hit a nice right hand and just buckled Menne, but Menne, to his credit, recomposed really quick, and that has a lot to do with ring experience. A lot of Dave Menne's losses actually were due to TKO.
Humongous right hand for Omar De La Cruz, and Dave Menne's got to be careful. You know, he's been here before, but wow. Jay, how much damage are those doing?
You know, a lot. You know, Dave Menne's a guy that I said from the outset I think has what it takes to win this tournament. He's got so much heart. It's just hard not to root for Dave Menne, man. Been through so much.
Oh, the huge right hand for Omar De La Cruz. Mike Reed has called an end to the action. Omar De La Cruz moving on to the welterweight tournament final. Wow.
Huge, huge, huge win for Omar De La Cruz. Beating a former UFC middleweight champion. Fantastic performance.
Well, the odds makers may have had it right. Omar De La Cruz, the people he's been training with at Team Alliance in San Diego, Brandon Vera being one of them, says his improvement in the last month has been off the charts, especially with his hands. A quick learner, a natural athlete. Wow. And of course, the disappointment for Dave Menne. Started well for him in the first round, and there's his girlfriend, Destiny. Disappointment across the Dave Menne camp, but Omar De La Cruz putting on a striking clinic. We thought he might be able to do it, and Omar De La Cruz has pocketed $75,000 and expect an absolute war against Lyman Good on the 12th of June.
And Lyman Good's definitely gonna have his hands full with Omar De La Cruz. I mean, I'm a fan of De La Cruz now. That was a very, very impressive win against Dave Menne. You know, referee stoppage, TKO, no matter what.
And there you see Carlos Marmol, the Cubs had a day off, and certainly an MMA fan, and very happy that Omar De La Cruz was able to get it done tonight. Major League Baseball well represented here at the Bellator Fighting Championships. And Dave Menne wearing the pain there. Huge gash under the left eye.
It's a massive cut. Let's see. We know it's a good fight from the get-go. There's a lot of back and forth action. Menne got the takedown originally. You see here, he got hit with a right hand that just buckled his knees, but Menne went in on that single leg and recomposed pretty quick. But De La Cruz just constantly battered Menne. He threw a big right hand over the top and bounced Menne's head off the canvas, and then another one that followed up. Just massive onslaught of huge punches there, and doing a great job to stay on him. And De La Cruz here throws the right hand and drops Menne again, and a couple punches all the way down, and the ref decides that was it. Take a look at this from another angle here. Right hand buckles Menne, a referee on top of that. A couple of punches, and ref feels like that's not a Dave Menne moment.
Wow. I mean, Mike Reed thought he might step in the way earlier. Omar De La Cruz really dominates Dave Menne there to get the victory. And you see Lyman Good there, he's getting ready. That fight just 1 month away, and you can expect fireworks. Lyman Good against Omar De La Cruz. What a moment for the Dominican Republic, too. You know, it's not necessarily saying a whole lot when we bill Omar De La Cruz as the best fighter out of the Dominican Republic, but I mean, you see that performance. That's a welterweight that, in my opinion, can hang with the top 20 or 25 welterweights in the world. All right, the announcement is in. Lupe Contreras has it.
Caballeros, el referee Michael Reed detiene el combate con un tiempo oficial de 3 minutos 19 segundos del primer asalto. Ladies and gentlemen, referee Michael Reed steps in and calls a halt to this bout with an official time of 3 minutes 19 seconds of the first round. Your winner, by way of technical knockout, el vencedor por knockout técnico. Y avanzando a las finales de Bellator Fighting Championships. Ladies and gentlemen, and moving on to the finals of Bellator Fighting Championships, Omar de la Cruz.
So an unbelievable performance from Omar de la Cruz as he moves on to the welterweight championship final. On the line on June 12th will be $100,000. It'll be the pre-tournament favorite. Lyman Good now 9-0 against the 5-1 Omar de la Cruz. And what a fight we expect it to be. Get your tickets now. Mohegan Sun on June 12th. All right, we will hear from Omar de la Cruz when we return. A great night of action at the Aragon Ballroom in Chicago. So Dave Menne had about a 55-fight edge in terms of the experience, but the young gun prevails tonight. Omar de la Cruz is cage side with Jason Chambers.
I'm here with your winner, Omar de la Cruz. Omar, how do you feel right now?
¿Qué es lo que estás sintiendo en este momento, Omar?
Gracias a Dios me siento muy bien. Gracias al que está allá arriba y a los entrenadores míos, me ayudaron mucho.
Thank God I'm feeling like so good. I got help from above.
Well, Dave Menne is a huge win for you. How do you feel about fighting Lyman Good in the welterweight finals?
¿Qué piensas de pelear contra Lyman Good en la final de los pesos welter?
Bueno, él es bueno. Yo estoy demostrando que soy bueno también. Vamos a la final ahora. Vamos a ver cuál tiene el mejor entrenamiento y el mejor deseo de ganar.
He's really good, and this is good for the final and the division, so I'm going to put up a fight.
Well, you did a fantastic job there. Talk us through the end of the fight.
Háblanos acerca del final de la pelea.
Bueno, dejé que trabajara un poco. Cuando entonces ya vi que podía trabajar y vi que le di un golpe bueno, seguí atacando, presionando, como me dio mi esquina. Ahí está la ganada, gracias a Dios.
I was being aggressive. I was pushing the fight all over, and then I landed a couple of solid punches, and then I got the win.
Well, let's bring your opponent in, Lyman Good. Lyman, come on over here for a second. Again, you'll be fighting for the welterweight belt June 12th at the Mohegan Sun. Lyman, how do you feel about fighting the 12th against this young man right here?
I think it's an amazing opportunity. You know, I always said I always wanted to fight the best. He proved himself worthy. You know, I think it's definitely a worthy adversary. It should definitely be a good fight. I'm looking forward to it.
And we're looking forward to it too. Again, the welterweight finale, June 12th at the Mohegan Sun. We'll see you there, and these guys are going to be there, and it's going to be a war.
So that will do it from Chicago. Lyman Good and Omar de la Cruz have advanced to the welterweight final June 12th in Uncasville, Connecticut. Next week, we take a look back at the tournament action with our Road to the Championship special. And then 2 weeks from now, it's off to Monroe, Louisiana, May 29th for the Bellator Fighting Championships 9 and our middleweight semifinals. So an absolutely great night of high-level mixed martial arts here at the Aragon Ballroom. Lyman Good strikes his way to the championship as he gets through Jorge Ortiz. And then the nightcap certainly lived up to the hype set earlier by Lyman Good as the infectious smile of Omar de la Cruz moves on as he gets by Dave Menne. For more information, check out Bellator.com. For Jason Chambers, I'm John Anik. So long from Chicago.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Francis Ngannou. Subscribe now.